Hello everyone, hope all is well. So my wife and I, we've nipped out to the Highlands of Scotland in our camper van. So just a quick update on the upcoming France trip. So the intention is, day one, Q map, is to ride from my house, Aberdeen area. I'm going to hit the coast road I think, and then pop down, cup of tea at Dundee, pee stop, and then we'll be riding on to Blythe area, where I'll pick up my mate. We'll be staying the night at his house, and that'll be the first 300 odd miles done. Next day is going to be a bit of a rubbishy journey, Q map again, and we'll be going from Blythe right down to Folkestone and the Channel Tunnel across to France. And then once we get across to France, we'll be at Calais, spend the night in Calais, and then we'll be touring the north of France for a day, through Belgium. Another day there, never been to Belgium before actually, so we'll give that a go. And then we'll nip up and through the Netherlands, ferry over to Newcastle. My mate then has a nice cheeky little 10-minute ride to his house, and then me, well, I've got about 400 miles to go to get back home again. Obviously I'll take you with me. We'll find out about the rules and regs for flying a paramotor in France, especially for a visiting paramotor pilot like myself. I know there's a few rules and regs for flying in France, so we'll pick that up on the way. So until then, I'll see you on the road. Okay everyone, here's my steed, my Kawasaki ZZR 1400, which shall take me across Europe over the next few days. Well, here we are. So I'm going to take the coastal road and I'm going to pop down to, I think Dundee will be my first stop. Cup of tea, pee, and then straight on to near Newcastle where I'll pick up my friend. Stay the night at his house, and then it will be another 6-hour ride from Newcastle area to Felixstowe, across the Channel Tunnel to Calais. Job's a good one. Well, I'm certainly not going to bore you with endless miles of motorway and roads, so we'll speak again in Dundee. Right people, quick pee stop in Dundee. Another couple hours to go until I'm at Gaz's house, so I better get cracking. Right then, people, that's us in France. So, we arrived in Folkestone a good hour earlier, so that was good, because we got an earlier train. They let us go on the early train, so that was good. It was a bit bumpy. I'm surprised it was only a 25-minute crossing, and I'm sure the last time I did this was about 37 minutes, 40 minutes, so by the time we'd put our bikes on our side stands, got our kit off, we were pretty much putting it all back on again. So, good. Now, for all my American viewers, don't worry. I'll be moving from the correct side of the road, that's the left, onto the right as we come off this train. Takes a couple of seconds to get used to, but hey, it's all good. So plan, we're in Calais. We're not far from our hotel, so we're going to probably just go straight there, get shit showered and shaved because I smell bad. 6 hours on the road and it's taking its toll on my hygiene. Here we go. Bonjour. And we're off. And for us silly Brits, look at that. Remember to keep to the right. They have to put signs there for us. Oh, how I laugh. And here's the hotel. Thank God. Because I'm going to be honest, I am sick to death sitting on a motorbike after several hours. Oh, looks okay from the outside. Well, here we are. Not bad. Hotel Metropole. 3-star. I think it does what it says in the tin. Recommend. So we decided to go into Calais itself and get a bite to eat, a wee beer, and then hit the hay. And amazingly enough, there was a fun run going on. Talking to one of the locals, this is an annual event, and they had DJs out and everything to warm the crowd up prior to going for the run. I love Calais! Sorry everyone, I had to mute this bit just because of copyright. But you can see that the DJs and the dancers on the stage are getting everybody properly warmed up. Brilliant. So the next morning we jumped on our bikes and went from Calais to Dunkirk. The main reason for going to Dunkirk was we wanted to pay our respects to the cemetery in the middle of Dunkirk and then go off to the Dunkirk War Museum and pay our respects there and have a look at the history of the Battle of Dunkirk and those who have fallen. We got talking to this gentleman who had come all the way from Australia. He had 2 relatives who were buried in this cemetery. It was really nice to talk to him. So the museum is situated at the old headquarters for the French and Allied forces during the Battle of Dunkirk, and Operation Dynamo, which was the largest evacuation in military history of personnel. As the Battle of France pushed the French and the Allied forces closer to the beaches at Dunkirk, it soon became a retreating area, but sadly an easy area for the huge loss of life as the Nazis bombed and made their way closer. The Navy, well, they couldn't evacuate everyone quickly and efficiently, and they only had limited vessels because they were all fighting a war, obviously. And so brave civilians from the UK made the treacherous journey across to go and rescue our guys in whatever boats they had. And bearing in mind there were Nazi destroyers, there were U-boats and everything, and they still went over to get our servicemen back. As you can see, the museum has a massive collection of French and Allied uniforms, weapons, medals, even the vehicles from this time. Most of the dead are buried in the cemetery that we showed previously. So back on the bikes, we're riding now from Dunkirk, across the border to Belgium and up to Ypres, where we would be staying for the night. The reason we took Ypres was because every night at 8 o'clock they play the last post and usually have bands of some kind marching through. And tonight was quite special. They had some Scottish bagpipe players who were going to be doing the last post. An amazing sight to see. They've been doing this every night since the end of the war. But before we leave France, here's me in the future just talking about paramotoring here. Hi everyone. I'm going to be honest. While I was riding through France, it became quite clear that flying a paramotor in France, as in looking for space to do so, won't be a problem. And I quote from a forum I was on, did a little bit of research, and a chap who's lived in France for many years, he's British, kind of said the following on the forum. The French are very keen on aviation. You will be welcomed as a fellow aviator. As far as visiting pilots are concerned, you can visit for 90 days without having to enter the French system. I can't find the official statement for this, but that's what I'm led to believe. Just bring your insurance documents with you. So if anybody on here knows if that's true or not, that would be very helpful for UK visiting pilots who want to just come in and fly a paramotor for a day or something and then bugger off again, you know, or even for a week or something. It would be good to know. However, I'm not convinced that that's as easy as it sounds. Because also looking at the forum, it says the French's attitude to countryside access is fantastic. And you can see that. In the UK, everything's blocked off, fenced off, all the land is owned by farmers, and it's really difficult to just rock up and fly. As I was riding through France, I found quite a lot of open spaces. You know, they're maybe owned by farmers, and if the farmer was around or there was a building around, I'd go and ask permission. I wouldn't just be a dick and just fly. But there just seems so much, you know, unfenced off areas. So I think, to be brutally honest, flying a paramotor in France, as in finding an area to take off from, isn't going to be a problem. Obviously, check the airspace maps as well, which are pretty much identical in Europe to the UK. But let's go back to the original question. Can I just rock up, fly for 90 days without entering the French system? Well, I can't seem to find any definitive answer on that. I've even asked some locals who didn't want to be on YouTube, which is a shame, but they were saying that one guy was an ex-paraglider, and he just said, rock up, fly, no one ever asks. You know, although I could probably get away with doing that, I'd like to do it legally. So I was looking on the French Civil Aviation Authority, known as the DGAC, and they're a bit like the CAA or the FAA. You know, they are there to make sure and guarantee almost flight is regulated and safe. And apparently, you have to register your paramotor and paramotor wing, and I'll put the description and the links to those sites in the description. But the pilot must first visit the DGAC website to obtain the necessary forms and all relevant information. Fair enough. And basically, it involves filing the registration application form. So there's the first thing you do. So if you're going to plan a trip to France to go paramotoring, and you're not in a group of people, you're just on your own, you're going to crack on, then that's the first thing to do. It may also be necessary to pass a technical inspection. So they want to see your wing, make sure it's not got holes in it and it's a pile of crap, you know. So I understand that. And so once you've done that, it says here, in conclusion, paramotor wing registration is a legal obligation for pilots. Its purpose is to ensure flight safety, etc., and to comply with that. There are fees for the technical inspection, and this can vary. So, you know, I think I would register the wing and see if they want an actual inspections, and you'd have to kind of time that round when you're in France and when they're going to do that. So if you're going to do it properly, I think that's the way to go. As for having 90 days to do whatever you want, that sounds all too easy, to be fair. So if anybody knows if that's the case or not, then that would be good. Also, as part of the DGAC, I think you have to also register a paramotor as well. So it's a motorised vehicle, obviously, for flight, and I think it's just make, model, things like that. So if you're going to do it properly in France, you have to register your wing and your paramotor by the look of things. Hello. Well, here we are in Ypres in Belgium. We had a planes, trains and automobiles situation whereby our hotel was double booked. So we had a double bed.
Those aren't pillows.
And Gaz had to go and book another place. So there we go. Should have done the walk of shame to go and find out where his hotel is, and we've got him in there. So I'll go back to the original one, and I think I'll have a cup of tea, a shower, and I'll meet him up in about an hour and a half. So it's nearly 8 PM, so we're making our way towards the Menin Gate, as this is known. This was the original gate leading to the Ypres salient, where many British and Commonwealth troops passed on their way to the front line. The last post ceremony in Ypres is a tradition that pays tribute to the British and Commonwealth soldiers who died in Ypres during World War I, particularly those with no graves. And if you look on the walls, it's inscribed with the names of all those who died. It is literally covered. Time to wake up the neighbours. I can't believe that they've been doing the last post, sounding the last post here since the war, every day at 8 PM. So if you're ever here, thoroughly recommend that. Fantastic. Beautiful cobbled streets. And we moan in the UK whenever we start pedestrianising high streets and things. And they've been doing that in Europe for years. I don't see hundreds of vape shops or Turkish barbers here. So surely we can do that. Moaning over. Cool. Check this out. Right, back on the road everyone. I am absolutely astounded. As you ride down these roads, every few miles there's a Commonwealth cemetery, and they're immaculate. We take it for granted in the UK because our shores weren't, we didn't have fighting on the shores of the UK. It was mostly an air war. But people fought on this land tooth and nail and have been buried here. So it is quite astounding how many you come across as you go down the road. So quite poignant, I must admit. Again, onto paramotoring as well. There is so much expanse of fields. None of the fields are fenced in, walled in, and in the UK all there'll be fences up here all over the place, as a lot of it's farmland. So for paramotoring, it seems like it would be quite easy to just pull over, get your kit out and go flying.
Can you fly a paramotor in Belgium? The answer is, well, you have to go into their government website, which again I will leave a link, and you have to apply for a paramotor license. I don't know what that involves, but you basically apply for a license. You then get a medical, and so you have to keep your medical certificate and your license up to date if you want to fly your paramotor in Belgium. Again, someone was saying you've got 90 days to fly if you're a visiting pilot. I still can't find any evidence of that, so if anybody can find that, that would be great, because if that's true, that'd be fantastic. I'll leave a link down below. So if you're going to fly your paramotor in Belgium, it looks like you have to register as well.
4 hours of riding, next destination, Santon Hotel. Let's see what this is like. Utter hell.
Well, here we are, people. Santon Eindhoven Hotel. Not bad. Good night's sleep last night. Over to the Overloon War Museum. We'll see you there.
Okay, people. Just in the car park at the bottom of the hotel. Make our way out. Eindhoven. Well, there was a football match on last night, so it was pretty noisy. We're good. So we're going from here, about an hour's trip, just near the border of Germany, to get to Overloon War Museum. So we'll see how that goes. For that. Let's do this. Welcome to the Netherlands. Very long, straight roads. Right then, see what this is about. Got the veteran card. Got the veteran badge, I should say. Usually gets you in a bit cheaper. So here we go. Overloon Museum. So this museum commemorates the Battle of Overloon. This was part of Operation Market Garden, which was Allied forces attempt to take a number of bridges around the area. Sadly, they got pushed back into what was known as the corridor, or this small town called Overloon, and it turned this area around Overloon into the front line, sadly. A lot of civilians had to be evacuated, and there was heavy fighting with massive losses on each side. For the British casualties, there are several cemeteries dotted all around the area. For the Americans killed in action, the Central Military Cemetery in the Netherlands. And most of the German soldiers who were killed in action in the Netherlands were buried after the war at the military cemetery at Ypres in the vicinity. So as for the civilians, after being evacuated for several months, the inhabitants returned to their destroyed houses. They started to rebuild their village together, which took them about 10 years. The museum was officially opened on the 25th of May 1946. Okay, from here we headed over to Oosterbeek, where the large airborne museum is situated. It's worth a look. So we thought we'd pop in there on the way slightly more north to the Netherlands National Aviation Museum before heading over to our hotel. So this museum, it commemorates those who have fallen during the German occupation of this actual local area, which is Arnhem and Oosterbeek. At the time, Operation Market Garden was well in force, which was the dropping of Allied troops into the area to secure a number of pretty main bridges in the area. Sadly, a lot of people lost their lives in this campaign. Operation Market Garden was pretty much a daring plan. The objective of the operation was to capture several bridges and canals in the Netherlands to pave the way for the Allied advance towards the heart of Germany, in the hope that the operation would end the war before the end of 1944. Oh well, here we are, National Military Museum of the Netherlands. Let's go see what this baby's like. Well, this museum was huge and pretty good actually, and it celebrates the Netherlands' military history, and really interesting to look around.
sadly, the Netherlands seem to be quite strict when it comes to flying paramotors. Now, you have to register your wing, and you actually have to display the registration number on your wing by the look of things, looking at the Netherlands website. And there was another forum with a couple of guys from the Netherlands who were talking about that and saying, sadly, yes, that is the case. So I think it would be quite difficult to fly in the Netherlands as a visiting pilot, unless you go through the full registration registration process, should I say. You can apply for an 11-day permit, but looking at that, it's meant to be quite difficult to get, and also it only restricts you to specific areas to fly from if you get permission. So it looks like the Netherlands is out, which is a shame. I think it'd be quite difficult to do that. Quite a lot of people were given an exemption when they were doing some fly-ins over Arnhem and things like that, and some paratroopers were dropping in and things like that. They did a temporary exemption then, but it was very controlled, obviously. So yeah, it looks like it's quite difficult to do. So again, I'll put a link in the description where you can apply for that as well. So there you go. It looks like it's a little bit more difficult to fly in Europe than people think, and you can't just turn up and go for it. You could chance it, but if you get caught, I think you can get heavy fines, or you can get your equipment confiscated. So if you're going to do it, I think you have to do it properly. So there you go. As for the 90-day exemption, if anybody knows anything about that, that would be good. I'm not convinced that's true. But anyway, if you're going to apply for licenses to fly, check the link below. There's the beast. It's done well. Anyway, killing time until our ferry this evening. So best way to do it is to go to the National Maritime Museum. Look at that. Well, we got back into Newcastle after a pleasant ferry trip. It was a little bit rough, but it was fine. I slept like a baby as a result. Another 300 miles, and that took me home. All in all, I covered 5 countries in 5 days. There was a 6th and 7th day, but that was more as a result of ferry trips and the ride back through Scotland to get home. In all, I did around 1,750 miles. The bike ran like a dream, no problems at all, but my bottom really hurt after that, so I needed a few days rest afterwards. I hope you enjoyed the video. A little tour around Europe, a little chat about paramotoring, and normal service will resume on the next video. See you soon, everyone.